Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well and staying safe, which is really important. So today I'm here to talk about the intersectoral flows basically, which is involved in the topics of macroeconomics, and we'll also discuss about the four sectors which will be the base of it, and then we'll also move on to the circular flow in the next video. Basically today we'll be going with the sectors and the intersectoral flow. So before starting the video, I would just like to say, if you're new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and give a thumbs up if you liked the video. So yeah, let's talk about the first topic, that is the sectors involved. First we'll start with, because there are four sectors, we'll start with the household sector. Household sectors are basically, it includes the consumers of goods and services. This is also known as, basically the households are also known as the owners of factors of production. You might know what are they, the factors of production basically, that is land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. So this is what is involved in the household sector basically. And then comes the producer sector, that is the firms basically, those who are producing the goods and services, right? And they are getting the resources, the base, from the household sector basically, which are the factors of production. They hire them and then they produce the goods and services. So basically land, labor, capital, entrepreneurial skill is hired, and then the producer sector produces the goods. Next what we have is the government sector, and which involves basically two ways, like government act as an welfare agency, and the second it act as producer. In case of welfare agency, you can take it as like defense sector or law and order, like that, right? And the next sector is the foreign sector, which is the rest of the world basically. So basically it deals with what, the import and exports of goods and services. There is a flow, that is inflow and outflow of the capital from domestic economy to the rest of the world, right? We trade basically. So these are the four sectors involved which we are going to deal with, and next we'll move on to the intersectoral flows. Next, if you talk about the intersectoral flows, then you know that each sector in the economy is dependent on each other, right? So that is known as intersectoral interdependence basically. So let's talk about that as well, that if you first consider like household sector. So household sector is dependent upon the producer sector. For what? For the consumption purpose basically. If the production or the producer sector is not going to produce goods and services, then what will the household consume, right? So for the consumption purpose, they are dependent upon the producer sector. And when you talk about the producer sector, these are also dependent upon the household sector for the purpose of factors of production. If they need to produce goods and services, then they need land, labor, capital, entrepreneurial skills. So they need their support, right? So household sector is the major factor which helps the producer sector to produce goods. Next, if you talk about the government sector, so you can see that these two sectors, the household sector and the producer sectors, are dependent upon the government sector. How? Like that there are so many services which government provide, along with the defense facility, the law and order facility, the administrative services involved, right? So these two sectors are also involved on the government sector, or dependent on the government sector, right? Next, if you talk about the government sector, the government sector is also dependent upon these two sectors, the household or the producer sector, for the purpose of their tax and non-tax revenues. And if you talk about the external sector now, so this is also dependent. If you need to import and export, then you need to produce goods and services, right? So everything is needed basically. If you need regulations through the government, so see, everything is interdependence, it's interconnected basically. So these interdependence, it happens basically in two forms, either in the form of goods and services or in the form of money. If you talk about it in the form of money, then it is known as money flow. And when you talk about this in the form of goods and services, then it is real flow. So now we'll discuss this one by one. As I told you about the intersectoral interdependence, which leads to intersectoral flow, which are of two kinds, that is the money flow and the real flow. So we'll talk about the real flow first. So real flows are basically, as I told you, the flow of goods and services in the economy, right? So For example, if I take it as, the household sector is providing their services to the producer sector, that is the factors of production, right? And the producer sector is providing the goods which they are producing, they're selling those goods to the household sector. So this is what, there is the flow of goods and services only, there is no money involved in it. So that is why it is known as real flow. You can also see this with the help of the flow chart, which is basically the two sector economy. So you can see as if, like, the household sector is providing the factors of production, the services, basically the land, labor, capital, the entrepreneurs basically, and then the producer sector is producing goods and services through those factors of production, and then supplying them, then selling it to the household sector basically. So this flow goes on, and this flow does not involve any money flow. These are the real flows basically involved, right? Next we'll discuss about the money flow. Now let's talk about the money flow. As I already mentioned that the real flow involves the flow of goods and services. So the money flow basically involves the flow of money in different sectors of the economy. So basically you can call it as the money flow is the reciprocal of the real flow. It forms a base of it. Like we can take an example. As I already mentioned in the real flow, that the household sector provide what, the factor services, right? I have talked about the factor services to the producer sector. So obviously if they are providing something, then they also need something for that, so they will get payment for that. That payment from the producer sector to the household sector is the money flow. Okay, and then again if you talk about as I already mentioned in the real flow, that producer sector provides goods and services to the household sector, the goods to the household sector. So when they are consuming the goods, they also need to pay something to the producer sector. So the expenditure done by the household sector for the goods and services, and then they pay to the producers basically for that, because they are consuming those goods, right? So this is what the payment, the factor payment basically involved, the factor payment of goods and services, whatever involved in this, of the factors of production, the land, labor, capital done by the producers to the consumers, and the expenditure done by the household for the goods consumed basically, right? So this is all the money flow. So yeah, this is all about this today's topic, and next we'll deal with the circular flow. So please subscribe to the channel to get notified for that video as well, and I'll be sharing the video in Hindi too, as I have been requested for that too. So yeah, if you like the content and the video, then do share your comments below. It would be really helpful for me to know what basically is required. So yeah, thank you for watching the video. Stay safe, stay happy.